Hello, and welcome to EUTV Sports Update. We'll be looking at the latest sports news from Evangel University and around the region. I'm Eric Patterson.
We'll also look at college football across the nation and check out the latest happenings in professional sports. I'm Cadence Washam, and this is Sports Update on EUTV. So men's and women's soccer both had a really tough match this past week against Bethel, so that's definitely something that we're going to have to look into a little bit later.
Yeah, and then also OU versus Texas in the Red River rivalry was out college game day. There's always good games with them every year, but this year was amazing to watch, and I can't wait to check it out later.
Yeah. Evangel's women's soccer returned home on Saturday afternoon, looking to add a win to their season, hosting the Bethel Threshers. Bethel took an early lead in the first 13 minutes in the match, making it 1-0. On a free kick, Evangel's Anna Crane scored her 7th goal of the season, tying the game up at 1-1. The game was back and forth, one goal after another for both teams. With barely any time left in the first half, the Threshers scored again, making the score 3-2. After halftime, the Valor came back, rallied up, and Ava Campbell scored a goal for Evangel, tying the game up. Anna Crane was able to get her 8th goal of the season and making the score 4-3 Evangel. Just 10 minutes later, Bethel scored an equalizer, putting the game at 4-4. Evangel tried to get another shot on goal, but the time beat them in this match. Evangel and Bethel tied 4-4.
Valor men's soccer came home to host Bethel on Saturday. After back-to-back draws, the Valor looked to get back on the positive side of the results. Led by their suffocating defense, they did not allow the Threshers to score a goal in the first half. The first shot on goal for the Valor came 26 minutes in when Ted Okoro had a close shot that was blocked. The Bethel coach inspired his players at halftime because the second half they came out extra aggressive, trying to steal the ball and attack more on offense, and it was successful. They scored a goal 1-0, taking the lead. The Valor were tied up later as Ruben Gonzalez scored, and then the Valor scored again quickly. However, Bethel was tied up and neither team could score in the final 5 minutes, leaving both teams again with another draw. On Friday, the Valor cross-country teams traveled across the border to compete in the Border Wars in Elsa, Illinois. Despite not having the volume of competition like Chili Pepper, the Valor ran well and used their teammates to push each other. The men's team placed third as the top three for the Valor finished right after each other, as did 4 through 6. Leading the Valor for the first time this year was junior Graham Miller, as he barely edged out freshman Caleb Gamble at the line, running 27-18 and placing 6th. On the girls' side, they were limited because of injuries, but ran very well. Led by sophomore Macy Kopp, 3 of the 4 Valor runners ran a personal record. Kopp finished as the runner-up and ran a huge PR in 19:14. The cross-country teams are off next week, but will be back in action in 2 weeks in Nebraska.
Evangel Volleyball traveled to North Newton, Kansas on Saturday looking to defeat the Threshers, who were undefeated in conference play. Evangel struggled on the attack in set 1. Bethel took an early lead in the set, scoring 16 points before the Valor even hit double digits. Despite several small runs where the Valor were able to tie the game up at 23-23. Bethel scored the final 2 points of the set to take a 25-23 win in set 1. The Valor offense came alive in set 2. Evangel took a 20-16 lead over the Threshers, recording several kills to push Evangel to a 25-20 win in set 2. A dominant offensive performance in set 3 helped Evangel capture a 2-1 lead in the match. The Valor recorded 17 kills to 4 errors in the set. Several Bethel attacking errors followed by a trio of kills from Mallory Dick pushed Evangel to a 19-17 lead. Evangel took a 25-20 win in set 3. Threshers used a late run in the set to take set 4 25-19, forcing a fifth and final set, and the Valor came out slow in the race to 15 points, trailing 13-4. The Valor would need an improbable run to mount a comeback. Although Evangel would go on a 4-0 run, the Valor could not stop the Threshers from scoring 2 points, as 2 EU attacking errors ended the game 15-9. So yeah, volleyball had to go to the 5th set, back and forth Bethel. A really interesting match and intense on both sides too. So really cool.
Yeah, and soccer tied twice, both the men's and women's team. I believe the men's team has 4 ties this year.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy,
That is really interesting. And then men's and women's cross country also competed well in Illinois this weekend too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now let's look at the volleyball standings for the KCAC.
So as you can see, Evangel is 4-2 in conference play. They're above that 500 mark, so they're doing fairly well this in this new KCAC conference. So that is something to look at as well.
Yeah, so they're currently tied for 3rd, although there is 5 teams above them. But they're doing well. They're winning the games that they need to win.
Yeah, they're taking the games that they need to win very seriously. So, yeah. Well, coming up, I'll be here with student athlete Tayton Hawkins to talk about the golf season.
And later, we'll look at some of the most significant college games from the weekend and see who will be on top in the battle of the Red River rivalry. We'll be right back.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for mental health and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org.
There is a road laid out for me.
First night here, but Amy seems cool.
Leading down to the river. I am blind, but I need not see.
What do you think?
I know this road is there for me. If I'm really free, take me down to the river and walk.
Here with student athlete Tayton Hopkins. Thank you, Tayton, for being here with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so can you tell us a little bit about how you got to start playing golf and how you came to Evangel and playing golf?
Yeah, so I've been playing golf my entire life. I kind of have a little different story of how I got to Evangel. Actually came in playing football out of high school. Loved my first 2 years playing football. Due to an injury, I had to switch back to golf, which is something I was probably more naturally talented at. But Coach Jenkins was gracious enough to let me hop back into golf, and it's been great since.
Awesome. And then, so you are a student athlete. What are some academic goals you've had to set to balance schoolwork and being a student athlete on both?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough being gone so much with golf. I mean, we're gone Sunday through Wednesday pretty much every week. And so obviously we miss a lot of classes, but I think putting a major focus and like discipline on academics is huge. I know as a team, we strive to be one of the highest team GPAs on the campus. And personally, I'm trying to make the athletic director honor roll every year, and I think that's kind of been a goal. Setting a tangible goal for me has helped like maintain that GPA throughout, and has been something that's pretty important to me.
Yeah, and then something about golf, y'all play in the fall and the spring, so that's different than much sports in Evangel. So what's a highlight that y'all have had just in the fall season alone this year?
Yeah, I think this fall season's been good for us in the sense that we've gotten a lot of new guys experience. Obviously graduating Reagan last year, multiple all-conference guy, multiple-time all-conference guy. Obviously that's going to be a tough loss. But I think like kind of the highlight's just been getting some of these younger guys some experience, some reps in some tournaments, so that when our full-blown season comes around in the spring, they know how to handle the pressure and travel and deal with school and all that. So I think that's kind of been the highlight.
And then with every team, you definitely have struggles. What is something that's been a little more difficult for the golf team this year?
I think on the flip side of that is we have had some young guys playing. And obviously there's going to be a learning curve with that. I mean, with high school, you're not traveling multiple days at a time across the country, and you're not playing in different states. And so I think getting those guys some experience, how it has been a struggle, it'll also like come back and be beneficial to us in the long run.
Yeah, definitely. And then Evangel just joined the new KCAC conference. What does that look like for the golf team? Is there more competition? How do y'all rank on that?
Yeah, I think the Heart and the KCAC are pretty comparable. Honestly, with golf, it's not as big of a deal switching conferences because we were seeing pretty much a different team every week. And we were seeing a lot of the KCAC teams while we were in the Heart, and we were still seeing a lot of the Heart teams while in the KCAC. So I don't think from a regular season perspective that's as big of a deal. We have loved the KCAC so far. We just got back from a conference championship. Match play conference championship this last week, and it was great. They run it tremendously. But I think that no matter who we play, I mean, the same goals in mind, and that's to go win. So to answer your question, they're pretty comparable.
They're pretty comparable. That's good. What do you think that the mentality of a golf player and a student athlete here at Evangel kind of like looks like?
I mean, to compete, and that's in everything you do. That's life, that's golf, that's academically. I mean, it's to win. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to find a way to not only succeed on the course, but we're also, like I said, going to maintain the GPA. We're going to attend chapels. We're going to do all that and do it the right way while we do it. So winning in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then what does preseason look like, off-season? What does your practice schedule usually look like?
Yeah, so in season we're practicing. In season we're traveling Sunday, playing a practice round probably Sunday afternoon, and then tournaments Monday, Tuesday, occasionally Wednesday. So we're getting back super late, and then we usually get that next day off, and then it's back to qualifying for the next tournament the next week. And so in season it's pretty busy. Off season in the winter it gets a little bit easier on us due to the fact, like, obviously the weather. But we go to working out 3 times a week during that, and then practicing most days when we can. We're blessed to have an indoor down in the field house that allows us to practice year-round inside on a simulator, which has been great. So in the winter, it becomes to practicing whenever the weather's good, essentially.
Yeah. And then y'all do have something a little more exciting happening next week. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we have our home tournament next week. It's a big one. A bunch of good teams going to be there. Kansas Wesleyan's going to be there. They're ranked in the top 25. We got all our guys back healthy this week, so that'll be good. We're ready to show out and hopefully bring home a trophy.
Yeah, that is something really cool, especially since it's so close to campus. A lot of students can go and watch it as well.
Definitely.
What is one person who inspires you in the golf world, and why?
That's a tough one. I'd probably say right now, probably the person that inspires me most is probably Scotty Scheffler. Just from the fact that he's able to not only combine like his competitive drive in golf, but also with his faith. It allows him to, like, he worded it as like, being a Christian doesn't make him not want to compete as bad. It makes him want to win more so that he's put on a platform to glorify God. And I think that's kind of the essence of how I see it. And I think that that's kind of inspired me to want to go compete harder. And so, yeah, I'd say definitely Scotty Scheffler at that point.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Tayton. Best of luck to you and the Evangel golf team this season. Coming up, we'll look at some of the college games and upsets from the weekend and in the NFL. Stay tuned.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantori here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
Number 12, Oklahoma Sooners, and number 3, Texas Longhorns battled for the Red River rivalry. It could be the last time that these two teams meet up in the Big 12, unless in the conference championship game. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers got off to a sluggish start with 2 interceptions in the first quarter, but he heated it up in the second half as the Longhorns roared back from a 10-point deficit late in the third quarter. With 1 minute left in the game, the Horns kicked a 47-yard field goal to take a 30-27 lead, their first since going ahead 14-10 in the second quarter. There was so much time left on the clock. However, Oklahoma quarterback Dylan Gabriel went 4 for 4 for 58 yards passing in the final 75 seconds, finishing with a 3-yard touchdown pass to Nick Anderson with 15 seconds left to give the Sooners the lead right back. Oklahoma defeated Texas with a score of 34-30.
On Saturday in Columbia, the Missouri Tigers played at home against the Louisiana State Tigers. Missouri came into the game undefeated, and while LSU was following a loss, the momentum was on the home side. Quarterback Brady Cook led the offense, scoring touchdowns on their first 3 drives. They stayed in control the first half, leading 25-17. The only thing that did not go Missouri's way was Cook throwing an interception, which broke his SEC record streak of 366 passes without an interception. In the second half, it was LSU who brought the firepower in a wild turn of events. A blocked field goal, more scoring, and Jaden Daniels, quarterback for LSU, leaving with a rib injury, kept the fans on the edge of their seat. LSU would take the lead 42-39 with less than 3 minutes to go in the game. Missouri tried to respond, but Cook threw a pick six, which put the nail in the coffin as LSU wins 49-39. Entering their game on Sunday, the Steelers knew that with their offense being bottom 5 in almost every category, they would have to win with their defense and special teams. So, when the Baltimore Ravens traveled to Pittsburgh, it was predestined to be a slugfest. The Steelers got down early as 10-3 as the Ravens seemed to be in full control of the game, almost making it 17-3 if it wasn't for a couple drops. But in the fourth quarter, the special teams made a huge play that gave them life. Safety Miles Killebrew blocked the Ravens' punt. It was inches away from recovering a touchdown, but it was called a safety. With the spark they needed, the Steelers would tally 4 unanswered scores, including a safety. The Steelers would score again on special teams as Chris Boswell made a field goal to make it a 10-8 game, and later a long touchdown pass to George Pickens gave Pittsburgh the lead. At the end of the day, the Steelers made the plays they needed to and capitalized on the turnovers in crunch time and won 17-10.
The Kansas City Chiefs traveled to Minneapolis on Sunday to take on the Minnesota Vikings. Mahomes went 31 for 41 for 281 yards and no turnovers in his most efficient performance of the season for the Chiefs, who once again won while not at their best. In the second quarter, Kelsey had an awkward fall to the ground and had an ankle injury. The game was tied at halftime 13-13. The Chiefs did not hold anything back after halftime and scored 14 points in the third quarter alone. Kelsey returned back into the game and was able to get an 8-yard touchdown. The Vikings were able to get a touchdown in the fourth quarter by Alexander Madison. The Chiefs were able to get a hold of the Vikings and not allow them to tie the game up, and won with a score of 27-20. Yeah, so the Chiefs-Vikings game, it was tied at halftime, and the Chiefs came back and in the third quarter scored 14 points and really took that game and won it.
Yeah, the Chiefs being the Super Bowl champions from last year gave everyone's best shot.
Yeah.
And so then also the Oklahoma and Texas game was really good. Mm-hmm. Oklahoma got revenge for last year getting shut out in the game. And then also moved up in the rankings. Texas, number 3. They fell down, I think, number 9.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and Oklahoma moved up as well. So those college football rankings look a lot different now.
They do. When we come back, we'll have the EUTV Player of the Week.
We'll also have your upcoming Evangel games this week. We'll be right back.
What a disaster.
You're a disaster.
This is a disaster.
You can't be ready for every little disaster, but you can prepare for a big one. Make an emergency plan today.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that I would never be able to get over it and that my kids wouldn't have a father. I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. For the longest time, fear held me back from ultimately being who I wanted to. I had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
Yeah, it's been a great week for Valor Sports.
It has, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they compete this upcoming week as well. EUTV has the opportunity to showcase a student athlete who really puts the work in this past week and showcase them.
Yes. It's time now for EUTV Sports Player of the Week. This week's EUTV Player of the Week is Anna Crane. Anna is a member of the women's soccer team. She's a sophomore from Springfield, Missouri. Anna is leading her team in goals this season. She succeeded in scoring 8 goals. She scored 2 times in a tight match against Bethel that ended up in a tie. Congratulations, Anna, on all your hard work so far this season.
Yeah, congratulations, Anna. That was a really close game they had with Bethel, and since she scored the 2 goals, I mean, that made them have a tie, so that was really good.
Yeah, I think she's well deserving of this award.
Yes.
It's time now for upcoming Games of the Week.
Football plays Saturday, October 14th at Bethany at 1:30 p.m.
Men's and women's soccer have 2 games. Wednesday, October 11th, the women play at 5 at home versus Oklahoma Wesleyan, and the men play at 7:30. Saturday, October 14th, the women and men both play at McPherson, the women at noon, and the men at 2 p.m.
For volleyball, they play it Wednesday, October 11th at Oklahoma Wesleyan at 6 p.m. And they also play Saturday, October 14th at McPherson at noon.
Men's and women's golf both play at the EU Fall Invitational at 9 a.m. in Ozark, Missouri on Monday, October 16th. Go Evangel Valor. Yeah, so there's a lot of different games. The football team is away, but they're looking to be 7-0 this week, so really keep an eye on them as they moved up in the rankings. They're 15th now.
Yeah, and then men's and women's golf is in Ozark this upcoming weekend, so that is also something that everyone can go and support because they're usually not near Springfield, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I've checked out the course. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that's all the time that we have today for Sports Update. We invite you to check out euvalormedia.com for all the latest Evangel news and media. I'm Cadence Washam.
And I'm Eric Patterson. Be sure to join us next week as we bring you the latest in sports news. For more information on Evangel Sports, go to evangelathletics.com. This has been Sports Update on EUTV.